is the Program Director at Women and Leadership Forum for Women in Democracy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Next to her, we do have Miss Agnes Kisembo. She is from UN Women. And David Rukasi, the man who is always against the women. Let's see what you have to take.
Wow, that's a huge accusation that I'm already... Again, did you say that?
Yes!
Wow.
And the viewers will support me. The hashtag is Morning at 10 TV. I mean, these are people who know you, and just based on what we are having.
In the Daily Monitor today, we have one of the magazines. We have Breaking the Glass Ceiling. We have ladies in here meeting the women who are pioneers in a formerly male-dominated fields. And of course, here we have the Speaker of Parliament. We have the former VP here as well, and many ladies in there. And ladies have had their chance, their opportunity, their space in a space that has been quite largely dominated by the male species. But what's your take on women in politics so far?
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. As introduced, my name is Elizabeth Ampeire, and I work for the Forum for Women in Democracy. And our core mandate is to ensure that we have equal participation of women and men in political spaces, but not just to participate, but also benefit from the decisions that are made in those spaces. So my take is that women are yet to have equality in those spaces. Much as we have a few that are outstanding, like you mentioned, the Speaker of Parliament, our former Vice President, Honorable Wandera Kaziwe, we realize that that is just a scratch of the glass ceiling. We are not yet there. We have, currently in Parliament, we have a representation of 34.9%, but then we'll also question issues around quality representation. Do we see that translating into actual changes for the situation of women and girls in this country? Because as Forum for Women in Democracy, we are more interested in quality representation, seeing issues that affect women and girls being addressed. And those are issues around early marriages, teenage pregnancies that continue to be very high in this country, but also maternal mortality. If you scan through social media pages, you realize that almost every day we are losing about 16 mothers in this struggle of giving birth. So we are asking ourselves, where are we going wrong? Is it about the numbers, like you are saying, or is it about the issues that are being presented? So we also try to interrogate the issues within the political space that continue to, deter women from participating effectively in these spaces. And just last month, we launched a study called Deterred, Not Barred. It's right here with me in the studio, and we intended to unmask this violence against women in the 2016 general elections. So as you rightly said that we are gearing up towards the 2021 elections, our key concern is, are these issues addressed, or are we going to face the same issues that women faced, deterring them from effective participation? But also many people look at this space as highly, volatile, and they wouldn't want to participate in the spaces.
You did mention something very important before we go to Ms. Kisembo. You did mention something very important, and this is the maternal mortality rate that is still high. The other day we were having conversations about abortion. Do we legalize it or not? Apparently over 300,000 women procure unsafe abortion every single year in Uganda. So the question will be, and someone would say, okay, fine, we're talking about representation by the women leadership to change, the status quo and stuff like that. But someone would argue that the Ministry of Health pretty much is headed by women bosses.
Well, that is why we say, much as we have women in those spaces, but we need to go ahead and see the kind of environment they are operating in. As we know, as a country, we are largely faced with patriarchy, which is male dominancy, and you find that much as you have the women there, their voices are not heard many times. So you find that they have to navigate through a lot of processes to have these conversations heard and paid attention to. You will notice that increasingly the budget allocation to priorities that center around women's health, maternal health in particular, family planning, issues that aid women to live their full lives and participate in these spaces are not being paid much attention to. We've seen a dwindling budget increasingly, and right now the budget discussions have started and we don't see much improvement in that area. So when we talk about actual representation, we think the focus should be more about the issues.
Okay, all right.
You say the quality is not something that we are going to control. Let's be honest, because if you have, let's say, Ugandans choosing now, that is going to be their member of parliament, and that's the lady they have chosen. The quality might be hard for us, the people that think this is the kind of quality that should be in there. But how 34.9,
yes,
that's almost 35%
yes,
of representation in parliament. How much is enough and how much is equal?
You know, we've subscribed to global regional frameworks that talk about 50-50.
Yes.
One of them is the Agenda 2063 at Africa level. And these are documents that we are trying to domesticate at national level. So we have already realized at a global perspective, regional perspective, that we need equality in representation. So what is enough for us is a 50-50.
Okay, all right. Let's talk to Ms. Kisembo. And UN Women is at the forefront of ensuring that there's that balance. It's not just a conversation, but we achieve it somewhat in Africa as much as we're in a patriarchal society. We were having these conversations last week, and different political parties will be going to the primaries, and they're saying that now they're having conversations of, considering the lining up methods as opposed to, secret ballot to choose, who's going to take it up in the primaries. What's your view on this with regards to the intimidation, especially of them that are going to, take part in this, and even them that are going to be candidates trying to vie for these particular posts?
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, dear listeners. Well, I would like to say that we're living in a democratic world, where people should be free to express their genuine choices and feelings without being intimidated. So whichever option we take, whether it's lining up or secret ballot, except you have to weigh which method is more appropriate for our context based on the past experiences we've had. That is very, very important. If lining up at the back is going to cause more violence, especially at household level, where the husband is going to accuse the wife, why did you line up behind so-and-so whom I do not support, then it's important that we consider and we pick up the option that will keep people safer but still exercise their democratic rights to elect or vote. Yeah.
Interesting. And of course reports were coming out after the LC elections, which was pretty much lining up, and those are concerns that were brought to the fore. We even had women who said that I didn't stand up because I was afraid of that intimidation or discrimination moving forward. I don't know what David has to say with regards to the same.
I'd love to look away a bit, because the headline that we're dealing with today is His Excellency, the Ghetto President, Bobi Wine, saying that he's going to stand for presidency come 2021. And looking away from that, how do we get more women into politics? Because we don't forcefully push people into position so that we can balance the boat and have 50-50. But how do we put more women in positions that you feel they need to take up so that we can have the equality when it comes to politics?
Yeah, thank you, David. What needs to be done is really a multi-pronged kind of approach. We need to there are actions that need to take place at a national level, where we are looking at policy and legal reforms, looking at the laws that govern elections and participation in politics in this country, to see that things like violence against women in elections, for example, are catered for. We currently have laws that address gender-based violence without necessarily looking at violence against women in elections or in political spaces as a specific area. And then at community level, there needs to be a lot also at that level, because like we said in the beginning, there's a lot of patriarchy, male dominance, and it's men that are determining. And when you also look at the election processes in this country, they are male dominated. It is the men who are majorly managing these processes in political parties, even at LC1 level, like you mentioned, it is the men that are really calling the shots. So we need to engage men more, to appreciate some of the challenges, to support them, and we are already doing this as the Forum for Women in Democracy across 14 districts in this country, where we've partnered with men to actually sensitize communities on the role that women can play in the governance of their communities, but also in the general development of their communities. So we need to keep this conversation alive within the women's movement, integrate aspects of addressing violence against women in elections. In our training modules, we usually train women aspirants, we mentor them, we align them, link them to seasoned women leaders, the women that have been there, you know, navigated through and made it. People like Miriam Matembe, Honorable Miriam Matembe. These are people, Honorable Winnie Byanyima. These are women that, much as the space was still as volatile as is now, they managed to make it to the top and create a lot of influence. So such women that have paved the way for younger generations, we are seeing how to have these intergenerational conversations around having more women in these spaces. So we continue to mentor, have the communities speak about this, but most importantly, we recently had a launch of this study, the same study, Deterred Not Barred, and the participants there were saying, why don't we do a name and shame of some of these godfathers that are coercing women aspirants into sexual, you know, violence? Because as we talk, young women like you and I, you may look at elections as an area that is not attractive for you to really venture into, because you'll be faced with psychological abuse. People will begin looking at your physical appearance. We are having conversations around curvaceous bodies and all that. You know, such things come into play. So as we build women's agency, we need to also build a supportive environment around them, targeting their families, communities, but also looking at the legal frameworks at national level.
Right. World over, this space is dominated by the males. World over. Yeah?
Yes.
To me, you sound like you are complaining and not appreciating the fact that now you have even more space, you have the opportunity. No one is stopping the women from coming out and standing for positions. No one is stopping them from involving themselves in elections to take up the power so that we can balance the 50-50. So why the continuous bother that you feel that people are not getting enough? And I know you keep bringing up violence against women in families, and the space is there.
Well, can I just
yes, kindly do. Yes.
In addition to what Elizabeth has shared, I would also like to share that preparation is very important right from childhood. If you look at how we socialize our girls and boys at household level, right there we prepare the boys to prepare for these political spaces as they grow up. Okay, it starts there. When you look at schools, the curriculum, and all the songs and all the proverbs that they prepare the boys. So in terms of preparations, the boys are more prepared to embrace the political space and run with it, while the girls are prepared for the other subordinate positions, not challenging the men. Those are the voices that girls grow up listening to, which prepares them for outside the political competition or space. Therefore, in terms of 50-50, it's a journey, it's not an event. It's something we have to prepare for. Prepare our little ones right from home that it's okay for you to lead as a girl. It's okay for you to lead as a boy. And then we prepare them to respect one another but not to compete.
Let's look at empowerment, because especially vying for a political seat, you have to have the financial muscle. Muscle that majority of women do not afford. It becomes like, so this is what I need to have effective campaigns. I'd rather not even get into that space. And even if I'm confident enough that I have a better manifesto than my male counterpart, still, because I don't have the financial muscle, I end up losing out. How are we deliberate changing that space with regards to ensuring that that is sorted out for the women aspirants, and also educating the electorate that it's not just about the handouts you're given, but the quality of the leadership that you put in place? Madam.
Thank you very much. We continue to do a lot of civic engagements, like you said, picking up from your last point, to ensure that the voters look at the quality rather than what you are giving them. We try to help them look at strategically at what the next 5 years will look like for them, because you take this bar of soap or bottle of soda, but you're going to have this person in leadership making decisions on your behalf for the next 5 years.
Right.
So we try to direct the electorates into looking at the strategic issues rather than these immediate needs. And then for the women themselves, we are doing a lot of capacity building, empowerment, helping them to be vocal, to have agency, to be confident, and to defend what they actually believe in and be able to convince their constituencies to be able to vote for them. But also at national level, we are having engagements with politicians, parliament, and all the other stakeholders around electoral reforms. How do we regulate, for example, electoral financing? A lot of money is poured into these elections, and people, it tends to distract and divert the course of the campaigns. So we are trying to do a lot at various levels.
Okay, interesting. David?
Yeah,
I seem so silent in this.
I keep listening, and I'm looking for the gap where you have clearly told us how the setup is setting up for the boy child and not the girl child. What are you doing to make sure that this setup changes so that the girl child grows up knowing that I can occupy the same space that my brother or my cousin is going to share as well?
Oh, well, Young Women is working with a number of civil society organizations and the government of Uganda, especially the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, on programs for addressing mindset change, addressing norms, beliefs, and attitudes that tend to hold us back, but also encouraging and building the self-esteem and confidence of young girls. That one we are doing with for Ode. So we think, like I said, since it's a journey, we think progressively, if we consistently invest in these programs, both our boys and girls will grow up knowing that actually politics is a space for both of us, and everybody will be willing to engage. So that preparation is very critical, because these women who are able even to come up and compete, they prepare. They prepare psychologically because they know how the political terrain is. They prepare in terms of economic empowerment. They have either to get loans or get supporters to support them during the campaign processes. So all these young people have to understand the dynamics of politics in our context and prepare to participate. Because you can't say that the space is so volatile, the space is so... they have to understand how our context is and prepare to fit in there. And it's our responsibility, even the media. What do we communicate to the public? It's very, very important.
And as
the media has to support us in this. That it's possible.
Speaking of media, as you bring this to a close, I'd just like the two of you to give us your last remarks with regards to this. Now we are heading to the 2021 elections. Last year we saw, after the Arua 33, the fracas that happened in Arua, and the demonstrations that happened in Kampala, them that are most affected after we have political unrest in a country is the women and the children. So what is Forwarded doing, and what is UN Women doing to ensure that come 2021, number one, there's peace, and if at all, God forbid, anything happens, then the women are equipped with information on how they can safeguard themselves and their children in that event? Ms. Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. Well, as Forward, we think, first of all, this step of documenting violence against women in elections is a very critical step, because it is shedding light on the issues that have remained silent for a long time. So we are beginning this conversation, bringing it to light and ensuring that it does not happen again. So by doing this, we are breaking the silence around all these issues, because yes, we read about them in the media, but you don't get to hear their impact and the magnitude of how big, how fast spread this is.
Right.
So we are breaking silence. We are doing a lot of advocacy with the relevant stakeholders to make sure that this does not happen again. But also, most importantly, is empowering the communities themselves to be able to mitigate these occurrences. How do they, first of all, detect them, report them, and ensure that they are unacceptable in their contexts?
Okay.
So we are empowering the communities, working with the local leaders to ensure that this does not happen again. In 2016, Forward came together with other women rights organizations and organized what we call this Women's Situation Room. So this is an idea that we are exploring even going forward to 2021, because the Women's Situation Room was about timely reporting of occurrences of violence, but also making sure that the various stakeholders around the referral pathway are involved in addressing this violence in real time.
So you're deliberate about it.
Very deliberate.
Yeah, I would also like to add on what Elizabeth is saying in the context of 1325.
Right.
Under the context of 1325, we are supporting processes and participation of women in peace building to make sure that we offset the likelihood of violence. It's very important that women are engaged at all levels, local to national level, in whatever peace building processes that are taking place. It's very important that the government provides spaces where people can air out any likelihood of threats, so that they are contained. So this is the kind of work we are doing within the context of 1325, working with the Ministry of Gender and Akina Mama wa Africa.
Thank you so much for coming in studio.
Thank you very much. If you've just joined us, well, you're a little bit late today for Kickstarter, but you can watch it again on our YouTube channel and our social media platforms, that is Twitter and Facebook. And today on Kickstarter, we have been looking at increasing women participation in politics, and with us we had Elizabeth Paire, Program Director, Women and Leadership Forum for Women in Democracy. Thank you very much for coming. And of course, Miss Agnes Chisembo from UN Women. We look forward to having this discussion again, and hopefully the next time we are highlighting the people that have inspired the other women so that they can get into this political space as well. And we need to urge the women out there, for the young lady out there who is interested and you are having some little bit of fear, thinking that, oh, politics is not for us. No, it is for you as well. You can just fall in, make sure you convince the people in your area to vote for you so that you can take up that position. And the ladies here are more than willing to help support you mentally, to get you ready for the challenges that come, because one of the reasons why people don't get into that space is they feel that they're not mentally ready for it. So these ladies will definitely help you with that. Morning at NTV continues. We'll be back right after this.
Thank you.
I want 200 million shillings. I'm called Aranito Baram from Isingiro. Before I won this money, I was